Hey everybody, this is Jordan Rudess from Dream Theater, and you are watching CMS TV.
We're in the middle of basically a complete relaunch, rebrand, everything of the band. We went through some really tough managers. We went through some really bad, label stuff, and now we're like, it's like the truest thing, man. You can't do anything in music without having a team around you that believe in you and go for it. Because when one thing doesn't work, dude, it breaks everything. So, RPM came in, they brought their team to us, and they're like, look, let's rebuild this shit from the ground up. New logo, new launch, new attitude, new vibe. Let's promote this as the band that you are, not what, all these other people think it should be. Let's focus on that and, doing 5 singles and having months and months of promotion to really put this band back out there and let people see that, it's just been right under their nose the whole time.
Chris Akin Presents, and I, of course, am Chris Akin. And today on the show, we are going to get vicious, and I do mean vicious. Brand new release from the band Incite, Savage New Times, and boy, is it ever savage. Holy smokes. And here to talk all about it is the main man himself, Mr. Richie Cavalera. Richie, how are you, man?
What's up, man? How are we doing today, Chris? Metalheads? Honored to be here.
It's great to have you, man. Now, dude, I'm gonna remind you, because I'm sure you don't remember, but couple years ago when I interviewed you, I literally said to you, this is the pinnacle. You've reached the top of the mountain with the last record. Now I'm listening to this and I'm like, wow, could I have not have been any more wrong? This record smokes, dude. I mean, it is so, to me, and I'll obviously I want your opinion, but to me, you like listened to the last record and threw away everything that was not just punishing heavy. You just went way heavier and way harder, but still keep enough melody to keep it fun and interesting and, driving forward. So you tell me, man, is it indeed a purposeful, heavier record, or is it just where you guys are?
I think it's a little bit of both of that. Okay. I believe now that we've got our guitar player, and Lennon has really taken over the reins of writing really since the last record, Wake Up Dead, and that blew us away because Lennon, since Up in Hell, he'd pop in and write one song and it was always rad, but it never showed what he was about. And, when we replaced our guitar player, Drew, Lennon really stepped up and he's like, look, I want to write more. I've been doing all this stuff. And he showed us his scratch tracks and demos. And we were just like, damn, man, you've been just hiding all this stuff. And, so I think a lot of it's attributed to Lennon writing, and Lane coming in and kind of finally being that fourth guy that matches me, Elle, and Lennon in every single way, musically, vibe, hard work, respect, attitude, just everything, and I think that's just showing now. All those early records, they were just me trying to learn on the fly, but at the same time putting stuff out, so it just it never became Incite fully until I think Wake Up Dead was really that sign of hey, this is who we've been trying to be since day one. But it just needed the right pieces and right parts. And it's cool to hear you say that because that's exactly how we feel. It's a lot of bands will come out and blow their load on those first records, and then forever they're chasing that, right. And we're so lucky that 7 albums in, we're finally producing what we think is our best music and just warming up into that aspect. So to hear all the feedback, it's just really cool to see that. people are feeling like we are with the music and with the vibe and where the band is headed. Because yeah, this album does smoke. I agree. We're putting out 5 singles, and I think we could have put out 10 on the whole record. Like it's that good. I don't think there's a skipping song. There's so much vibe going on between each song that is presented to you. So I'm really excited to hear people feeling that way too.
Well, and what's interesting listening to it, Richie, is songs aside, it seems like each one of you guys, as I'll call it instrumentalists for lack of a better term, but each one of you individually has changed your game a little bit or upped the game a little bit. I mean, the guitars are just more ripping, the production's better. And I thought Wake Up Dead had great production, but this thing, well, you put this thing on in headphones, and I mean, you're pulling them off in a minute because they're really, really ripping, man. And that's I think that's a tribute to what you guys are doing, which is continually pushing yourselves. Is that fair?
Oh yeah, man. We know how good we can be. We know what we can do. We are 4 dudes that have literally been born with music in our blood. Like, Lennon has been drumming since he was like 5. L's been playing bass for 20, 30 years, laying the same. It's just literally like just finally putting it all together, man. It changes everything. We've done the last 4 records with Steve Evetts, and yet this one's better than what he's done. And I think that's a huge part of how we've grown too, is from him, creating this atmosphere when we come to record. It's like, all right, we think we know what we expect from him, but he throws so many curveballs at us that make us push ourselves to bring the best out. And, it's like that recording for Wake Up Dead was crazy. We were still in the mix of the lockdown. So the whole thing was done with mask and separation. So it was really hard to fully lock into that musical inspiration. I think we did a good job of making it happen. And, Eli Santana coming in and helping us make that record possible was a huge step, because he brought that beginning vibe of that 4th guy that we've always wanted and needed, and really helped us fill that gap for that record. And then allowing, this one to take shape with the 4 of us just really letting it out there. And I think it was more finally to us writing our record. We always were like, oh, we kind of maybe have to do this and this. And it was like, at this point, people know we can write heavy stuff. Let's show them that not only are we heavy and groovy, but we can also be musically in depth of where we can take this band. And, I think a lot of that came from Mental Destruction on the last record, introducing the acoustic guitar and these melodies and grooves that we hadn't fully touched on. And this one just catapulted that. We were like, let's have fun. Let's be us. And, we just did that. And I think that shows so much on this record and where we're taking the band now.
Sure. How much of this of the sound quality do you think is Evetts versus you guys just becoming better players, to where you don't need a producer so much to guide you as much now as you just need him to find the nuances to really accent the sound?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the big thing Steve really does for us is just pushing, not letting us get comfortable to become stale or not try harder. And, I think that was such a huge aspect. And, we were in New Jersey in the dead of winter, so it was like cold and dark and depressing, and it just added to this emphasis of what this record was becoming. And, the producer's a big part. I think something we did on this one was adding Arthur Risk at the final step for the mastering. And, with his musical, influence right now, it's huge. And he was a good part in shaping that sound that became what this record is. And, we're growing up, but Steve is still someone that it just really comes with the ideas that we're not like, oh no, that's horrible, we're not doing this, you're forcing us to do stuff that isn't us. And that just doesn't exist with him. And I think that's a comfortable place for an artist to be.
Right on, man. Well, yeah, I know you mentioned Lane here a little bit ago, jumping in as the new guy on guitar, so to speak. What's
Yeah,
interesting about him jumping in, at least to me, as somebody that listens to your band,
yeah,
is it didn't change the sound a lot, but you
yeah.
can tell there's something different. And I don't, that's a terrible way to explain it, I'm sure, but you can tell something was upgraded, but at the same
Oh, yeah.
time, it still sounds like Incite, which is, a testament to him. I'm assuming that he learned what you do, or either that or a testament to you guys that he was the perfect fit. Which is it?
I mean, it's a both, man. He literally is the perfect fit. Like we have dealt with, you know, from Drew, who, was more of a like really down tuned player. So the picking wasn't so pronounced. And Drew wasn't really a riffer, Drew was more like a chugger, like, open chord type stuff. So I think that was getting to be stale for us when you went from Oppression to Build to Destroy. It was really kind of similar. Nothing really grew in my sense. So Lane is a musician from like birth. I mean, he does piano, he does acoustic guitar, he drums, bass. I mean, he literally can do everything. So having a guy like that comes in on top of being able to be a pure riffer was
Mm-hmm.
just like unbelievable. And then he brings this stage presence that matches, Lennon, L, and me with that high energy, the having fun, everything like that. So I really believe he was just the perfect guy. Like we have searched the world for this guy, and
Sure.
he was in this tiny Canadian village just waiting, and he's so passionate and dedicated, and just man, I can't describe how his playing changed us. I mean, the soloing on this record is some of the best soloing I've heard in metal in a long time. I mean, it has feeling, and it has a direction. It's not just endless noodling, and you're just like, oh, I've heard that 1,000 times. This, the solo he does on like Dolores, I think, is just absolutely incredible. It has so much nuances and touch and feel, and yeah, I mean, we couldn't have asked for a better player to join this band and take us to the next level and where we, felt Incite could go.
Sure. When he joins and you guys start jamming and you start writing stuff and you start realizing how much he could do, did it change how you guys wrote the music, because there were avenues that you could explore that you had not done in the past, and they do show on the record to me as a
Yeah.
listener, they show, but did you hear that, and did it open up the ability to write different things?
Yeah, oh, without question. He gave us a new visual, and for a time there, we had one guy writing all of the music of the record, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't a lot of for us to come in and say what we wanted to do, because it was such a not a friendly environment,
Mm-hmm.
around creating that.
Right.
We dreaded doing a record for a couple of years there, but that is completely gone, and I think that's what changes a band to be able to find themselves. And writing was awesome. Normally we would always just do it through the internet, send files back and forth, but the way Lane and Lennon hit off right away, so we had Lennon, submitting like 6 demos, and Lane submitted 6 demos, and it was like, all right, let's pick the 10 best. And it was literally like a 50-50. And that's how you knew Lane's influence from like joining us and just playing with us live, hanging out with us, talking to us, fed into his influence of where he was going to write. He still had who he was, but he knew what Incite was and was able to mesh that in, think of how live shows went, because that's such a big part of us. And he would add to his writing skill of knowing how our live stuff went. So that was like, I think, such a smart move for us to do, to build him into that Incite influence. And when it came time, we sent Lane to Texas to hang with Lennon for a couple weeks, where they just
Okay.
literally ate and slept this record and writing and just smoking dope and just getting really just connected, man. And it came out fully perfect on this album. When I finally, get the structure of the song sent to me, where I'm beginning to think of lyrical ideas, it was like, normally I'm chopping stuff up and moving it and all this stuff, but it was just like, it was laid out just perfect for me to jump in and like not have to think about the music this time. I was able to just really harness my my lyrics and vocal performance and where I wanted songs to be taken. And that was cool. Normally it's it can be frustrating, but this was just like so organic with how everything came to me once I heard this music. It was like, this is the Incite album I've been waiting for my whole life.
Sure.
Welcome to the ultimate experience for hard rock and heavy metal fans. Introducing the CMS Locals VIP app, your #1 destination for all things on the CMS network. Dive into the Classic Metal Show, Chris Akin Presents, Seth Williams Show, and more, all in one place. It's free to get started or elevate your experience with a subscription for just $4.99 a month. Go commercial free, get advanced releases, and enjoy exclusive bonus episodes. Plus, it's the prime spot to chat with like-minded fans who love raw, uncensored commentary. Are you ready to rock? Download from your iOS or Android store, search for the CMS network, and join the community now. It's free, it's easy, and it's the best way to keep our shows with you every single day. Install the locals.com app today and follow the CMS network.
Well, I got to ask you this, man, and this it's probably a dumb question, but whatever. I mean, I listened to this album. I listened to all the records, since you guys started, and I've interviewed you. I think this is the 5th time me and you have done this. I mean, we've done it a few times. You do not come off as talking to you. You do not come off as the same angry son of a bitch that writes these lyrics, man. I mean, the lyrics are so vicious, but you seem pretty chill, and that's over several interviews, and I've met you in person and, whatnot. So where is this rage coming from, man? Is it like deep in your soul that you just have to let out every few years?
Definitely, man. I think we all have our dark places that, we choose to unleash it somehow, whether it's all the time or periodically. I've just learned to, like, as I'm going through after a record is done, I'm just like building this whole new arsenal of energy from, somebody that cuts me off in traffic to a shitty news story I hear, or, things like that. And I never like to burst that out of me as I'm going through my daily life, because this is who I am. I'm chill, I'm fun, I'm happy, I'm just hyped on life. I've went from being nothing and poor with a single mom and 5 kids, sleeping in closets, to having a pretty cool life where you kind of just become appreciative of everything that's happening around you. So I treat that same thing to my lyrics. I went through a lot of crazy things from the last record to this one, with divorce and family stuff and online harassment stuff. And it was just like all of these things happening to me were like stuff I couldn't just go vent about or be online talking about. And I just brewed it inside me for this record. And I think that's where a big dump comes. And then my next one is live shows. That's like, I think for the metalheads as well as myself and everybody, like, that becomes your therapeutic release, where you're not out breaking in the streets or causing chaos out in the world. You're confining it to this place where we can all feed off it together. And it's an interesting dynamic, because I'm definitely not a pissed off person just on my daily living. It's cool. It's like an act, or being an actor, harnessing that.
I get it, man.
That stuff that's happened to you in life.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, let's dig into a couple of the tracks. One that you've shared with everybody already, No Mercy, No Forgiveness. Tell me about this one.
Yeah, I mean, when we were first presented this song, Lennon really took it to a cool level. I think that opening intro tag and the outro tag are very just massive, and it just, kicks you in the face and then totally twists into this like barn burning thrash, massive chorus metal song. It's really short. I think that was something we fine-tuned on this record, was really cutting out just nonsense, and really sticking to the parts that stood out. And this song, I think, is just barely over 2 minutes, 2:20, something like that. And we just wanted it to blister, man. Like, I think the no mercy, no forgiveness aspect is just kind of like, you know, done like being sorry for being me, you know, like I'm just not gonna like sit back anymore and feel sorry because of, you know, how life constructed itself for me. You know, I always believed that I was born to do this. I was doing this before it was really a thing in my household, you know. So
Sure.
to have all these things that coalesce to create this place where maybe our music can be discovered and people can find us has been such a huge part for me. And this song totally reflects that. You know, I think it was just something we wanted to have that's going to start pits. And
Right.
I think it'll be cool to hear the crowd, you know, singing "No Mercy, No Forgiveness" so massively the way it flows in the song. So totally a ripper, and I hope people are digging it and listening to it and turn it up, and especially driving fast. You know, that's what it's for.
Right. Well, man, you mentioned that it's a short song. Almost everything on this record is a short. What is there? One song over 3 minutes? Maybe
Yeah.
two?
I think that attributes to a lot of the past records being too long. We felt like we
Okay.
always usually did about 10 songs, but some of them, you know, they're 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes. And to us, we were just doing stuff that didn't need to be done, like dragging. This is like sweet, very sweet spot. You know, you think of old music and nothing was over like a minute 40, you know, and those are some of the most organic, timeless songs that have ever been created from the 50s and 60s. You know, it's something that I think especially is important with people's attention spans these days. You know, I think, you know, adapting to what the landscape is like helps a band, you know, survive and fine tune. And, you know, it worked for us.
Right on, man. Well, dude, obviously with this record, when is this thing out? Did I see right? This is out in August or something? It's like not for a while still.
August 15th. You know, we're in the middle of basically a complete relaunch, rebrand, everything of the band. We went through some really tough managers. We went through some really bad, you know, label stuff, and now we're like, it's like the truest thing, man. You can't do anything in music without having a team around you that believe in you and go for it. Because when one thing doesn't work, dude, it breaks everything. So.
Sure.
You know, RPM came in, they brought their team to us, and they're like, look, let's rebuild this shit from the ground up. New logo, new launch, new attitude, new vibe. Let's promote this as the band that you are, not what, you know, all these other people think it should be. Let's focus on that. And, you know, doing 5 singles and having months and months of promotion to really put this band back out there and let people see that, you know, it's just been right under their nose the whole time.
Right
so
on,
cool.
man. Well, dude, for people that want to see it live, what's the touring schedule look like for the rest of this year? And I'd imagine going into 26.
Yeah, I mean, we're stoked. We're going to have, you know, be a part of the Summer Slaughter tour. Hatebreed came and, you know, offered us a spot on the relaunch of this, you know, formidable festival that used to really like kick ass. You know, it launched so many bands' careers. So I think for him to take over and kind of like set this new mission for this festival is killer. And I think, you know, bands like Fugitive and Malevolence and, you know, Snuffed on Sight are going to be great to play with and have a good time with and really give metalheads a killer night from beginning to end. And, you know, a great way for us to launch this new record and, you know, start playing them live before it comes out. And I believe after that, we're doing something with, I think, 6 Feet Under, but I'm not sure on the dates or the scheduling of that yet. And I'm super stoked for that because, you know, Chris Barnes is a legend, first of all. And second, like, has been really cool to Incite. You know, he took us on 2 European tours and did a guest spot on our song Poison by Power.
Right.
You know, and just did it for free, did it on his own accord and everything. Like, just to like be such a cool dude. You know, I know he takes shit in the press for speaking his mind, but you know, you got to do that sometimes. And, you know, I've always had nothing but great experiences watching him come into the concert hall after the show and hang with all the support bands, you know, and burn some joints with us and just make sure everything was really cool, man. I'm stoked for that tour and I can't wait to see like what other bands are on that. So that's dope. We're going to close out the year, I think, just doing those 2 tours and like getting stuff going. And then next year should be massive. We should have some European festivals, American festivals, endless touring, and then hopefully start writing the next record at the end of next year.
Right on, man. Well, it sounds like everything is very busy. Sounds like everything's very good. I could tell you one thing that's very good. Savage New Times. As one of the few that's heard the whole thing, I love it, man. And you know, the one thing, and we'll wrap it up here, but the one thing I do love most about it is what we were talking about a little bit ago. I love that it's short. I love that it's just 35 minutes, blast you in the head, and boom, out. You know, because you know, I mean, you know, man, this kind of music you can't listen to for 4 hours at a time, and you'll go crazy. You know, but 30 minutes, what I think, that's good.
That's what I think, man. You know, it's enough to where you can listen to it and repeat some stuff.
Yeah,
you know, really have it soak in with you rather than just being so overwhelmed. And yeah, man, I'm just stoked to like have the people here. I'm glad you got to jam it and see where we're taking this, and you know, hopefully it just relates to the metal world, and they look past, you know, kind of all the bullshit and just see the music for what it is finally.
Right on. Well, where do you want us to tell people to go to actually buy something? And don't say Spotify. Buy something.
You know, you can go to the RPM website. They'll be doing the pre-orders. If you pre-order now, you can save some money on the puke green vinyl and the CD that comes out. So we suggest you do that. You know, that helps us a lot. And go follow our social medias, because that helps us a lot too. Like in this day and age, man, they're literally looking at your numbers of like to decide if you go on a tour or not. You know, so for us, it's a crazy situation. Our stuff got hacked when we were at like tens of thousands, and now we restarted all of our social media from zero. So, you know, I think it's fun for people to just come say what's up, message us on there, you know, and support the Big Cartel. You know, that's our merchandise that goes 100% directly to the band. Nobody else gets anything of that. And that really helps us to like start tours and pay for the dudes to fly out and begin this kind of stuff, because it's expensive and it's a grind. But thank you guys, and thank you, Chris. Like, really appreciate this, man.
Absolutely, man. Well, one more time, Savage New Times. It is Incite and Richie. This is always fun, man. Thanks for coming on once again.
Hey, brother. Stay well, and hopefully see you on tour in the next couple months.
Hey, it's Chris Akin from the Classic Metal Show, Chris Akin Presents, and the Seth Williams Show, straight from the uncensored heart of the CMS network. We've just been crowned a certified Rumble creator, and that means we're bringing the heat. All our shows, commercial-free, baby. Advance episode drops sometimes months before the normal release, so you're not stuck waiting. You'll get all this plus exclusive content for Rumble Premium subscribers that'll blow your mind. And with Rumble Premium, you'll get every CMS Network show and all of Rumble's other videos with no ads and no fluff. This is our official home, Rumble. It's raw, powerful, and unfiltered. You want in? Just hit us up at rumble.com/register/classic metal show to sign up for free commenting, chat live, and just your ability to join the chaos of all of our shows. Then while you're there, swing by any of our videos, smash that Rumble Premium button, and level up. Subscribe now. Don't sleep on this. Hit the link in the description.